All right, Sisters fans, hope everybody's doing well. Kind of like the video I recorded maybe 2 videos before this one talking about, well, how the Oval Season 3 is trash. Look, I don't get up here on purpose to bash. That's not what I'm here to do. If you've been a long time, I'm not even talking to the long time subscribers and followers. They know what I do on the channel. I talk about these shows. And I'm honest, I'm not affiliated with Tyler Perry Studios or anything. So if there's a show that I do nothing but rant about, then I don't review it, because that's not what this channel is about. To be honest, the only show I've ever quit was The Pains when it was on the OWN network, because at that point my reviews were longer than the actual episodes of The Pains, and all I did was talk about how bad it was, and I just stopped because it became a chore to watch, and I just didn't like myself when I would listen to some of the recordings on the playback. But with Sisters, it's never been a perfect show, but it's been an enjoyable one, and I dare say that it's the most effective show Tyler Perry has put out, mainly due to the fact that I don't think we've ever seen a show that Tyler Perry has create such a buzz within the fan base. Yes, The Haves and the Have-Nots was a massive hit, but in terms of a show creating a conversation between people of every gender, sexuality, orientation, what have you, I don't think there's ever been a show Tyler Perry has done before that has created this conversation. The conversation people have about relationship dynamics. Yes, there's a lot of arguments between fictional characters, Zach, Karen, Fatima, Andy, Gary, and what have you, but the real conversation stemmed from these fictional characters, I feel, is phenomenal. So, with that being said, I think Sisters is truly an impactful show, but Season 3 has not been good. So, just to get to the point of this video, I'm going to go over some things that I feel a lot of people will agree with me on, due to the fact that I noticed these comments being made in the Sisters Facebook group, in the comments of my videos I post, reviews or what have you. I don't think a lot of these characters are being written well. Now, what I say in this video has little to absolutely zero impact in the show, due to the fact that not only does this season we're currently in only have 2 episodes left, but Season 4 has already been filmed. That was filmed a couple months ago. When did they wrap up filming? Early to mid-October. And it is December 6th, so theoretically, they should be working on Zatima right now. But let's get into this video. Make sure you take a moment to hit the thumbs up button to show you like it. Hit subscribe. Hit that bell notification icon. And select all. That way, you don't miss out when I post content on the channel. Follow me on social media, and let's jump right in. So, storylines that need to be dropped. Let me put it this way. These storylines could either be dropped, they could be reworked, or just, well, Tyler Perry can introduce new actors / characters. And it's been said numerous times on this channel, numerous times by people who have worked with Tyler Perry, and by Tyler Perry himself. He's a man who grants opportunities to those who may not have had many opportunities in Hollywood. Sometimes the people who he gives a shot to, or he gives a shot on their career, it kickstarted because maybe there's a person who says, oh, a Tyler Perry project was my first project, and then I got hired by this studio and that studio, which is phenomenal. Sometimes you've had people who've been in the game for a while, but a Tyler Perry project is the first consistent project they've worked on. However, despite how amazing that is, and I'm never going to shy away from praising Tyler Perry for giving opportunities to those who have not had many opportunities to begin with, I would like it if he gave them more quality storylines, because look, Season 3 is going to end at episode 69. But the way the show's being pumped out, this series will hit 100 episodes in no time. I mean, based on the current pattern of the numbering of seasons, I think that theoretically, if the show gets a season 5 and it's 22 episodes, episode 100 will be in that batch of episodes. I don't see why the hell we're still entertaining this Andy loves Gary thing, because that just blew my mind at the end of last week's episode, where this woman started off the episode literally talking about how she wishes she could love and commit to, she wishes she can love and be with somebody else, but she's still like emotionally committed to Gary. Nobody talks about that. Everybody talks about the Karen thing, about needing Zach to tell her this and that so she can move on, so you can get rid of this hold you have on me. It's the same damn thing. It's the same thing. Andy, nobody's forcing you to stay with Gary. The man has walked out multiple times, and to have you screaming and crying your heart out about, you know what, all the hell you put me through and everything I put up with. Andy, you chose to do that. So, I mean, yeah, there were some scenarios that you had no control over, but once you got out of those sticky scenarios in like mid-season 2, at that point, why the hell are you still entertaining the idea of being in love, committed, or engaged to Gary? Congratulations, you played yourself. Cheeto, I've actually seen him in a couple of projects. I looked it up because I was curious about, okay, what else has this actor been in? And unlike Sisters, you see some range, and I like that. And I think Gary's acting has gotten a lot better than season 1. And that's not to say he's a bad actor. It's just like the way the scenes played out in season 1, it was so stale and repetitive. But I've been rooting for Gary more than Andy for the past season and a half. I really have. When you've had so many characters like Ben, Paris, Robin, and the list goes on, different male characters who seem to be somewhat of a great, I don't want to say perfect, but an interesting or great fit to Andy, she just uses these people as pit stops, if you will, for any kind of emotional episode she has with Gary, and then she ends up right back with him. So I think Andy and Gary have been written terribly, because the longer you have Gary around and Andy still pining after him, the more inadequate and desperate that she looks. And that's not really something you would imagine from the main. Yes, I know it's 4 characters, but Andy's the main sister. Calvin. Okay. Again, how long are we going to play this out? Some people said, like, when he told Sabrina all the freaky stuff he likes, that was manipulative. It was all to get Sabrina to do the kind of freaky things he wants her to do. But yeah, I rewatched the scene, and at one point, you know, I do feel like the way he phrased certain things, I can see how it could be taken that way. But for me, I just like the fact that we had a one-on-one conversation between the two, and Sabrina processed it, but then she lied about being tired only to get Calvin to leave, to then get on the phone and tell Danny everything that he said. And in the upcoming episode, we have Calvin confronting Danny about, why don't you like me for Sabrina? I think you're in the closet. And it's just, why are we still doing this? Sabrina, either you want the man or you don't. Maurice and Danny, I commend those two for saying exactly what us fans have been saying for, well, years. Because what, the show started in late 2019? Yeah, October 2019. Yeah, it's been over 2 years, and we're saying the same thing. Get with somebody else or not. You had Jacoby, but then Tyler Perry had to write him to be crazy as hell. So there's that. So either get rid of Calvin or change storyline up. But then again, to be honest, Calvin has been the only character to have viral moments in the show, you know, from getting knocked out by Jacoby and screaming like a little bitch to mentioning the whole prostate being tickled thing. So then again, he's a necessary evil, if you will, to the series. Danny, I don't really mind Danny. Well, actually I do. From season 2, creating her own issues with Preston, to being completely immature, you know, basically setting guidelines and boundaries about needing space and whatnot. But then when the man abides by the guidelines, boundaries, and rules set, you start to mock him and then call him sensitive and whatnot, as opposed to recognizing, hey, you know what? I'm the one who hasn't been upfront and honest about how I feel. I've been playing all these games. It's like, you have Sabrina, who's like the manipulative one, playing all these tricks on Calvin to set him up. And then you have Danny, who is cold and distant, making it seem like Preston. There were times where Preston felt like he was the problem. Yeah, you're right. Maybe I do talk too much about the cows and whatnot, yada, yada, yada. When he's the one who's actually trying to start somewhat of a relationship with Danny. So, if nothing else, they talk about Andy and Karen keeping secrets and starting trouble. But, you know, those two aren't saints in their own right. So, Preston, I'm not mad at him hanging out with Alice. So, whatever. It is what it is. So, I don't know why he's with Danny. I mean, they established that they have enough in common to see each other and just have sex, but they really don't have a lot in common. I mean, it's like they're Whitney and Bobby. We have something in common. All right, so Maurice, I mean, in the interview, I do believe the actor mentioned how Tyler Perry saw how fans responded to the character, and that's why Tyler has written more for him. However, I do wish more was written for him aside from being just this thirsty gay character. There have been people who have said, I've had followers of mine who have commented and DM me who are either LGBTQ or they're straight people who have family members or they know people who are gay, and they say, I don't like how Tyler Perry's writing gay characters because he writes them in a just the overly thirsty and overly exaggerated gay person. Like, there are people who are far less flamboyant than Maurice, and they're really like the norm. And I'm quoting what people have told me. I don't know off the top of my head, obviously. I wouldn't be saying these things because not knowing much of that community, I wouldn't just, you know, make up crap about that. No, that's not it. I'm talking about what I've been informed of over the years about this show. Well, even going back to the haves and the have-nots, I've had people tell me like they don't like how Tyler Perry has written Jeffrey or Justin and, you know, so many other characters in his projects. And yeah, I can actually see that too, because it's just one of those things where I did like when Calvin called out Maurice for just hiding his true feelings and everything, and, you know, his pain through being, you know, overly sexual and jokey to make up for being alone. So I've said it at least 30 times already. I thought the Q and Maurice thing would have been smart to have Maurice be like a mentor, if you will, and maybe over time form feelings for each other. But instead, you decide to go the I'm gay for pay, stick up, you know, hold you at gunpoint at a bank, and now all of a sudden want to try to meet up again. That doesn't really work. I mean, there's only 2 episodes after this week. Maybe Tyler Perry has a great story in mind, but I think you went a bit too extreme to really try to make it emotional now. It doesn't make sense to me. So, I mean, that was a smart move to have Calvin move in with Maurice, because literally, if you hadn't done that, it just wouldn't make sense for him Calvin to still be in the show. Maurice used to be my favorite character. In season 1, he was my favorite, but I've said it in season 2, the moment that he and Sabrina went to the bank parking lot in the middle of the night to see if Alonzo was still alive, and Maurice left Sabrina by herself, I was officially done with the character. I know it was supposed to be comedic. I know it might seem like I'm overreacting, but I just did not like that at all. You left your friend there to possibly be assaulted and beaten to a pulp if Alonzo had woken up. How would she have gotten away? Not to mention the fact that because of you getting tricked by Q, you put Sabrina in a dangerous position. So Maurice is a terrible friend. Hayden / Pam, I honestly have nothing to say that hasn't already been said before. I don't mind Pam. I know she gets a lot of hate for being nosy as hell, but I feel like, again, a necessary evil. Basically a character like Pam is to Karen what Fatima is to Andy, what Zach is to Danny, what Maurice is to Sabrina. Someone who works at the same position or the same job or company as one of the sisters, and they're used as a exposition dump / someone to confide in. Sure, could Pam be written to be a little less annoying and nosy? Absolutely. But I do think that in retrospect, this is coming from a guy who, when my mom had to go to the hairdresser, I'm talking like when me and my sister were younger, and we couldn't be left at home alone, and it's like we had to go to the hairdresser for hours and hours. And, you know, even the barbershop, because there were times where the beauty shop moved in with the barbershop, and then other times where, excuse me, the beauty shop had their own shop. And in both places, they were used for gossip. You know, for men, the barbershop is just a way to, quote unquote, let your hair down as it's getting cut and unwind, talk with the guys. But women, it's gossip city when it comes to the beauty shop. So Pam's character, believe it or not, actually fits the dynamic of a beauty shop establishment. I know I'm a male. I don't get my quote unquote hair done. But after being dragged to hairdressers so many times as a kid, yeah, Pam actually, there has been a Pam in damn near every single hair salon my mom has went to. So even though the character isn't that likable to a lot of people, I don't mind her. I think Tyler Perry wrote her to a T. Now, Hayden, on the other hand, I feel like is a bit forced in terms of how he is portrayed to be possessive, over the top. I don't think he's getting fired because obviously Andy said, you know, it was just a bluff that she sent an email to the, you know, partners and everything. But I did a video about how is Fatima underestimating him because he does seem to be pretty dangerous. And then to round things out, the Karen thing. Yeah, I don't hate Karen. I just hate how she's being treated by Tyler in the writing. I don't hate her. I know it might come across that way in certain videos, especially upcoming ones, but I just don't like the fact that she's being stepped on. It's like Zach and Fatima step on her character in order to escalate the fandom of Zatima. I think Karen deserves a lot better than how she's being written right now. I'm not saying she needs to be with Aaron, but also, I don't think she needs to be written to be Melinda from Acrimony. I think it's a disservice to Ebony, who I think does an amazing job with the role. Like, remember the video? Oh, yeah, I haven't thanked you all. Look, I want to be honest here. You know I post so much on the channel. I'm not a person that really goes back to past work. Like, once I post something, it's done. Like, it's done. I might check on the comments the first couple of days, but sometimes I look back through my the YouTube studio to check all my videos, and I'm like, when the hell did that video get 20,000 views? But remember, it was the video I did where I wrote down every piece of dialogue spoken between Zach and Karen at Danny's place. And when I really looked at the scene isolated, I really appreciated the little nuances that DeVell and Ebony put into their roles. Sure, you weren't meant to like Karen in that moment, but she did a hell of a job. It's like, I know this sounds weird because it's a given just looking at the women, but I just noticed for the first time in a while how beautiful Ebony is. Hear me out. Because we're so accustomed to see her be so bitter and ugly as a character, she became far less attractive to me. But when I looked at like the little things, like the way she scrunches up her nose when she gets pissed off, the way she kind of like rolls her eyes and tilts her neck when she's talking to Zach in those moments. And then the moments where they're standing up and Zach says, you know, this and that. Basically, he says certain things that make her freeze and just, you know, look at him because you see the confusion on her face. I just noticed for the first time, wow, oh, holy shit, she's beautiful. But her character is so bitter and ugly on the inside, and how it's being acted, I haven't seen that beauty in a while. So Ebony, I give all the roses to for portraying the character so damn well that she's hated in such a way that I forgot how beautiful of a woman she is. I know that sounds weird, but I've said this plenty of times before. Like, if nothing else, I feel like Ebony is truly embodying that it doesn't even the most beautiful woman can turn incredibly ugly based on the things that come out of her mouth. And I feel like Karen is that character. So I think that Tyler Perry could do better for her, and I hope he does in the near future. And look, like I said, season 4 is already in the books. For some reason, Gary, Aaron, Calvin, they're all still in the next season. I wish new men would be introduced. Like I said before, you look at Girlfriends, Living Singles, there was kind of like a rotating cast of love interest. And you know, sure, even though Max and Kyle never got like officially together, they kind of agreed to be like you know, co-parents of the baby. I think I forgot what show was technically a spinoff of Living Single, but I know that Kyle and Max actually were in one episode on a plane or something, and they weren't married, but they did have a daughter together, I believe. You know, because Max was pregnant at the end with Kyle's sperm through a donor bank or whatever. And then on top of that, you had, of course, Overton and Sinclair, but even they dated a few people before they officially got together, then married. Khadijah, like, went with a lot of other guys before, you know, her and Scooter was her longtime love interest, but, you know, as the show went on, because he wasn't always around, she would date other people. Regine, well, Regine was Regine. And then, you know, it's just one of those things where, like in Girlfriends, there were plenty of men that the women dated. So for sisters to be stuck on the same male love interest and just deal with the same repetitive, stale obstacles, if you want to call them that at this point, for them to overcome, it's gotten extremely boring. So that's why I feel like Sister Season 3 has been the most lackluster, because it feels like a lot has happened, but nothing's happened at the same time. Or we've gone through almost 20 plus episodes, but it feels like nothing has barely changed at all. If anything, Zach is the only character I can tell who has moved forward, both financially and mentally to an extent, where everybody else is like, you know, it's like season 1 Karen is dealing with season 3 Zach. He's not the same person anymore. But let me know your thoughts. Am I being too hard on the season? Do you feel the same way as I do? I'm going to be honest here. I posted a couple things on Instagram yesterday, and a few people are saying the same thing. You know, Andy, they took it too far with threesome. Karen is just way too bitter. It's a disgrace to, you know, darker skinned women. Danny is just ridiculous. Preston needs to move on. Sabrina, either you want to do the freaky stuff or not. It's just the same thing every time. So hopefully next season will change things in terms of the way I look at the show. Look, the ratings are still phenomenal for Sisters. I'm not going to deny that. But in terms of the quality, not really the same. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. I really appreciate the support on the channel. Make sure you like and subscribe, as I mentioned before and in every single video. If you want to donate, feel free to do so on PayPal or Cash App, or at the very least, again, hit subscribe as we get closer to 200,000 subscribers. Leave some things that I may not have mentioned in this video, like what are some things that you feel are dragging down this series as a whole? Have you just been loving every single episode? It's like, look, it's a show. I don't break my brain trying to figure things out. I'm just enjoying the ride. Peace out, guys.